from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to an episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today, I'm very pleased joining me from US, from Washington, D.C., Ghazenfer Mansoor. He's the founder and CEO of Technology River. And, I'm very pleased to have you today, Ghazenfer. We're going to talk, a lot about, technology, how it affects businesses, and, of course, the latest trend in technology. But before, you know, diving into all this, as I do with all my guests, I keep the intros and the lengthy intros for them. So tell us a little more about you, your background, your journey, and why you started the company, and then we can start the conversation from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Mehmet. So my name is Ghazenfer Mansoor. I'm based in Virginia, just outside DC. I'm originally from Pakistan. I got my computer science degree from there, and then I moved to United States in 1999. Worked with two startups as an early engineer. I got into mobile very early, around 2000, when I built the wireless communities for one of the European companies, and then creating a home controller um, through the Palm device, controlling your home appliances. That's how I got into the mobile, and that gave me more opportunities down the road in terms of working with other mobile stuff, and that helped me build the foundation of writing a book, which is coming in the next couple of weeks. It's called Beyond the Download: How to Build Mobile Apps That People Love, Use, and Share Every Day. Um, so after working for a few companies, I started consulting. Then I started a recruitment software startup called HireWorks, was a SaaS product, targeted recruiters. And in 2015, I started uh, Technology Rivers, a custom software development company. Started as a mobile app development company based on my expertise, with a one focus that building software the right way the first time. Because we have seen, working with different companies, I've seen that it's very common that in the tech space, people are building products that never ending. So that's one of the common challenges, and startups do not have a lot of money to experiment through that. So we came up with this focus, and then we built many applications in the last 11 years with this focus, delivered lean building projects quickly, and with the goal of launching those businesses. As we grew, we've changed our focus to more healthcare. So now we are primarily more into healthcare software development, because our second customer was health tech. Then we started working with the startups from Johns Hopkins Innovation Center. This is where we learned HIPAA and then move into this. So now we have over 50 applications that we have built that are healthcare. Half of them are HIPAA compliant. So that's becoming, and then even within the healthcare, there are two focuses. One is building healthcare products for health tech companies, and second, helping services businesses improve their operations through AI and technology. And this is where, for example, the home care, assisted living, autism care, those kind of companies, as these companies are going, especially in the regulator space, the people dealing with the Medicaid and other, there are so many regulations, so many complications. So out of the box tools are usually not that great. So building those internal tools, building workflows to improve their operations, get them scale faster, bring more efficiency, profitability for these businesses. So now focus is more on system power growth rather than people power growth.
Great, and thank you again, Ghazenfer, for being here with me today. Your introduction sparked, I would say, a couple of questions that I want to ask you. Now, you've seen, I'm sure, a lot of, big ideas turning into reality and production grade software, and at the same time maybe the unlucky ones. So in your opinion, actually, what makes the greatest ideas ship and scale versus the one that quietly die and go into the grave, as they say, of startups that fail.
I think, in my experience, the bigger one is really solving a real problem. Many times, we start building products just because we love building product, or just because we feel like this problem exists. And then once you build it, people will come. And that's one of the common scenarios that we have seen. So no matter how good the product is, if your customers are not using it, it's it's of no use. So you can build a really solid um, foundation. And we learned the same way. I mean, my first startup, I
Hmm.
built the first backend engine, everything. I knew the space. I did staffing, so I knew the space. I saw the gap as well. But once we build it, and then we realized we're not able to get the customer, we changed everything, went back to the whiteboard, then started talking with the customers, and then we started giving one feature at a time. So so it's more about how you build and what you build. So if you ask me, if I have to do it again, I would say I would find the customer first before we even start building.
Yeah. Now, also, yeah, I know I was doing my research and I saw like you speak a lot about usually why software projects fail. And there are a couple of things here. So, of course, like the need, right? So that's for sure. But what about also the vision, the execution, or maybe leadership alignment? What's your experience in this, especially like you help customers in building software. So where do you feel like sometimes you have to intervene to align everyone? You're trying to help them build their software, whether it's like a SaaS mobile product or whatever.
Yeah, these things obviously doesn't matter whether it's a mobile or SaaS. These are just the interfaces, or it could be a plugin or anything. I think the main one of the challenges we have seen is the feature race.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to build everything with this concept that, okay, if we don't have those features, we will not um, be able to succeed.
Right.
Or we're doing it because we can do it cheaper. Cheaper is not always great. So um uh, I think it's really what you are trying to build. You need to have a clear understanding of what you build. And then, so yeah, the feature race is one of the main ones. And one of the things I tell people, like, okay, how do you even prioritize those, for example? So let's say you want to build another CRM, and if you try to sell it as a CRM, obviously Salesforce and all those big players are there. You're less likely to have a success. But how about you pick one feature that they don't have and you're solving, and even if you don't position it as a CRM, but just build that one feature and bring the customers there. Once you have a customers for that, and it may be initially just integrating with all of those and then gradually add. I mean, if you look at, like, say, how HubSpot started the CRM, it was
Right.
like just giving the free version to their marketing customers initially, and then gradually it became. And there are many examples where you're building something and then it became a different tool, because now your tool will have all those others, but that's not how you're positioning. So it comes back to your positioning, your marketing, how you're putting it out in front of the customers.
Right, and this is, I think, what usually they call it. You should fall in love with the problem, not with the solution. And we see like sometimes um, people like doing this mistake, staffing, features, as you said. Like, yeah, if we just add this one more feature, like, we're gonna kill the market, and actually, it backfire. But also, Gazanfer, maybe you can enlighten people. I think this topic I discussed before, but I think it's a good reminder about. I don't want to go into the technicalities, but as an expert, adding features also sometimes cause what we call, or what is known to be, technical debt, right? Because sometimes you add a lot of features. So can you enlighten us a little bit also what are the negative impact other than that, okay, you are not selling or you're not growing? Like, can you just highlight this technical debt issue also as well on a high level, of course?
Yeah, so I think this is, and we have noticed that a big issue with, I would say it's an issue on both sides when it comes to, let's say, non-technical, working with a non-technical team, as well as working with the tech groups. So they have a
Hmm.
different approach of those. So anytime you have, like, as you're building those features, your technical debt keep increasing. Now you have to find a way, how do we keep clearing that up? So if, like anything, like in your house, if you just keep all the work and this is okay, we'll do this cleanup project after 6 months, it'll be a mass, there'll be a big, but if you keep cleaning it up on an everyday basis, then probably you could solve a lot of those. So the bigger challenge is, many a time you're focusing on feature, customers or stakeholders are pushing for a certain features. They say, okay, I only want this thing, I only want this thing. For them, there is no importance of, let's say, upgrading that plugin, or like maybe using a different tool for that. They are only one, okay, give me this thing, I want to sell this. The problem is it gradually keep increasing, and then things get out of control. So it's really providing that direction. Somebody needs to um, drive that and prioritize how your technical debt versus the feature race goes. In our business, one of the things I push for it to clear that up on a really on a short term basis. Like, as you're touching a new feature, let's say as you're working on a new feature, if that requires some changes, maybe add some time into the same feature, but just get it, uh, resolve that. If you need to refactor, if you need to readjust, because if you keep doing, that's how you're getting it better. But if you just wait for it, you're just waiting for disaster to happen.
Yeah, it's like just you never know. You are sitting on a unfixed territory, as they say, like unstable territory.
Yeah, I
Now,
would say at this time, just only one comment I want to, like, I
sure,
think this is the time where your product management and your technical leadership, the CTO, VP of engineering, like, that's where some prioritization need
right.
to happen at that time, because this is the time, if you just, because those are the groups that have a lot more understanding of each other's work, and that prioritization is much more easier compared to if you just leave it to total high level or total tech team.
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, AI is top of mind of every business owner now, Gazanfer, and people want to leverage this technology, right? Uh, but we read, hear, watch reports about like how businesses are struggling to turn AI into ROI, and like it's not like any other technology actually, but maybe AI because it's kind coming very fast now. So where have you seen actually AI actually transforms operations versus just sounding impressive in pitch decks?
I think in reality, AI is making a difference everywhere. It depends on how you're leveraging it. Like, even at the basic level, let's say most people are using it, let's say from a content perspective. Even then, some would just use it as a search, but not really getting deeper into how you can do the prompt engineering and do it more efficiently. So, so it's changing everywhere. Like in our world, leveraging AI during all the development, whether it's Cloud Code, whether it's Cursor, code coverage, documentation, a lot of those things. So I think so. We have to see from, and when it comes to businesses, I would say focus on the workflow rather than a tool. That's important part because, I mean, even in the development part, at the end, the goal is the code coverage. The goal is to have a good code. Goal is to have the efficient code. So the goal is not really that, oh, just using AI. So same thing, whether in the healthcare or any space, your business workflows need to be automated. So that's where you can take a big benefit out of the AI. So even going back to the content part, if we look at it, there are many different ways you can optimize getting things done um, uh, much faster than a traditional way, whether it's using, for example, MCPs, whether it's using um, the GPTs or the projects in Claude and um, in ChatGPT. We use heavily Claude in our in our businesses. So all these do make a difference. So it's really knowing how to use it. This is one of the areas most people still struggling with, how to best use of AI, because if there are so many things going on, people are overwhelmed.
Right. How is it affecting, like, I would say, service-based businesses? Like, anything that you've seen, like maybe I'm reading also like articles, book, and I see usually majority of the time where people get stuck is they try to implement the technology before reviewing, for example, their processes, right? So they don't do a kind of auditing before actually putting the technology in, which is AI now, automation. So um what are like some best practices usually when you talk to customers, you try to let them, you know, I would say adopt before, starting actually the project, like kind of prerequisites, I would call it, before, jumping right into the technology.
Yeah, so this is one of the challenges. You're right. Like people pick tools first, and their tools are many. Like even within AI, like now you see Claude, GPT, Gemini, all of those, and there are different models. So they will continue to change. So the tool are not, and that's a bigger mistake. A lot of people do. They pick the tools. So, but you have to look at your processes. And you raise the point of the processes. So it's the AI is gonna do what you give the input. So it's gonna I would say it's gonna give you it's gonna optimize what you have. So if your processes are not right, you're not gonna get a good outcome from AI. That's not gonna magic happen. Your data has to be cleaned. So the bigger part is cleaning up your data, mapping your workflows, and then defining your processes if they are not well. And then AI would automate those. So it's important that um, we look at from that angle rather than just putting uh, putting the tools out. I don't know if I answer. I think I missed the second part of it. What was
No,
the
no.
second part of the question?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. What you mentioned is about the processes and, doing this, the availability of the data. So yeah, you answered my question. Now I want to go to the healthcare because you said like this is the area you're focusing on now, Gazanfar. You talked about HIPAA and for people who are outside of the US. So this is, the the standards and frameworks for securing the data in healthcare. Um, Now, and elsewhere in Europe, they have something similar. In different countries, they have something similar. And healthcare is highly regulated. Now, when it comes to technology, whether it's AI or not AI, again, like I'm talking in general. So, have you seen like these regulations are kind of a blockers for innovation? And if so, how have you seen, you know, people in this domain are able to kind of work their ways around so they can still innovate without breaking the rules?
I think we're most of the time we start mixing up compliance with innovation. Eh, I would say if if you separate those part, so um, and then having, let's say, you can still innovate, you can have the right foundation, but you just keep in mind the compliance part. So it's like anything. Let's say even without the healthcare, like you always had security in your system. You So that doesn't stop the innovation. So the HIPAAs and GDPR, there are rules defined. There's some criteria. PCI is there in a financial system for a long time, right? That doesn't stop the innovation. So I would not mix them. I would say it just, you need to have more governance part defined. And the compliance cannot be added at the later stage. It can, but it would add more complication. So you want to have a compliance from day one. So your architecture, for example, if you know HIPAA, so your architecture will need to have all of those uh, items in your, for example, it requires encryption at rest and encryption at transit. It requires audit logging of every action. It requires audit log of every activity done by your users at the database level, at the application level. So there are, and you need to track who did what. So all these are not still going to stop you. And now with AI, one of the other things I want to add, because that's where one of the bigger misconception in terms of, oh, we have a PHI data, personal health information data, which need to be HIPAA compliant. But now with AI, obviously you have LLMs that are training on all the data that you put in, but there are rules and regulations that you follow, then it won't. For example, you can build an architecture in such a way that your private data stays within, and AIs are not, and LLMs are not training on it. You can have a BA in the US. You have to you are required to have a business associate agreement that
Mhm.
basically tells that you will follow certain. So, like many of our customers, when we're working with Google or with Gemini or OpenAI, so both OpenAI and Gemini and Google, they're signing the BA where they're promising that your data, there's no data retention like there's no data that's going to be used to train the AI, and zero retention policy. So these are the ones, once you follow those regulations, then um uh and then you can implement. So again, and then the data anonymization. So a lot of those things do come in place. I can talk more on this if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
would, I would love to hear more insights from you, Ghazenfer.
Yeah. So and while we're on it, so because this is again more of a CTO show, so I think on
Sure.
this one I can go a little bit deeper on this one. So there's a concept in AI called RAG, retrieval
Mhm.
augmented generation. This is where, so if you have your internal data, sensitive data that you don't want AI to um, train on. So you can keep all of your internal data into a RAG system, and which is also in a vector databases. So you tokenize the data, and then as you're doing the searches, you retrieve that data, filter it, and then AI is doing a search limited on a limited data. So, and again, this is also your reducing the hallucination, because by default, one of the funny thing with AI is, like, every question you ask, well, you will always get an answer, even if AI doesn't know. It will guess it,
Yeah.
and that's the part most people don't realize. We're getting the wrong information. Um, so and let's say whether it's like you're creating your knowledge base, your healthcare information database, any of those, you can get hallucination because the amount of data that is processed by AI is also limited. We load, let's say, 50 files, doesn't mean mm, ChatGPT or Gemini, all of those are going to rule, is because there's a limitation on the context, limitation on the token, right? So not all the files will be read and users assuming I'm getting the right data. But that's where this architecture comes in. Like, how do you make sure that right data is picked up, and then AI is giving you recommendation or optimizing the results based off of this data? And uh, we obviously, this is a very common architecture, or or important architecture that you need to be careful when it's come to building um, mm, uh, any uh, any healthcare related, any information, any application where it's more of internal data, could be knowledge base, could be your legal data, could be your financial data, any sensitive data
Right.
you have to follow that architecture.
I'm happy you mentioned this, Gazanfer, because people sometimes they think it's like it's like magic, which is not right. So the LLMs are programmed to throw at you tokens, which you see them as text, right? Because this is how they try to guess the text, right? Because this is the concept, and people, this is why I tell people like we should not call it intelligence. Yeah, it's like it's very useful, but it's not intelligence in the sense that it goes. Although they call it reasoning, sometimes it's just try to find the best answer that the algorithm thinks it's fit for your query or question. And it's good you mentioned the rag also as well, and this is why the hallucinations and all the things that we talked about in previous episodes also happen. So I'm happy like you get this back, Gazanfer, and thank you for sharing this. Now I want to go back, regarding the book. I know it's coming in couple of weeks, you said. What was the main motive for you to write the book? And the book title is Free App Promotion Playbook: Why Do Some App Still Fail? Like, I mean, tell me more about the book.
Yeah, so I think maybe something changed when we started talking a while ago. So the title a little bit changed. So the title is Beyond the Download: How to
Oh,
Build
okay.
Mobile Apps, how to build mobile apps that people love, use, and share every day. But the
Nice.
concept is still uh, the same. So yeah, it started with based off of my experiences working with different mobile projects. So we built close to 60 different mobile apps in the last 11 years. So learned a lot, and plus my own experience even before, as I mentioned earlier, like I started getting involved in mobile in 2000, building web-based systems. So
Wow.
or building for Palm Pilot. So um, now it's a different time. So all those experiences. So the book shares uh, 30 plus different strategies. The goal is to have a retention, because you build the app,
Right.
and it will be another app on somebody's phone that people will not be. So how do you build the app that people keep coming back again and again? And what are the strategies you can use to get that retention, so that it's not just a download? That's why the name is called Beyond the Download. Getting a download is the first step. It's about making people use every single day. Motivation obviously was the first was really, it was in my bucket list. I wanted to write it. So it took me a long time, 3 years, to write this book.
Wow.
We started as like small ebook first, and then started expanding it. Wrote few blogs on this topic. So gradually we started getting those contents, and then realized, okay, now we can write this as a full book.
That's absolutely something good. And sorry for the title because it's been a while. And this for the audience, I'm very transparent. It takes a time between the booking and the actual thing, but we're fixing this hopefully this year. Um, because I feel like you mentioned something which we call them sometimes vanity metrics, right? So a number of downloads, and you talk about getting people back again. Do you think, back to our maybe the first part of our interview today, is this related to the problem they're trying to solve, or is it something else that makes people want to come back? Sorry.
It it is problem, but at the same time, in today's world, when you have so much, you keep forgetting. So there are different ways of uh, doing something, how valuable it is um, for you. So, like on a daily basis, we're using Facebook, TikTok, and many of those. Those are the ones. Why do we go back? It could be entertainment, could be business reasons, could be whatever, our email. So, what is that need? So, yes, when it comes to that need, yes, it's the problem you're solving. But many times, the TikTok did solve some problem, but was this really a problem, or it added
Yeah,
another entertainment for it? But people got addicted to it. So sometimes it doesn't mean that you solve a specific problem, but you create something so people feel like they're coming back. So I still uh, love one of the Steve Jobs quote where he says, "Your customers don't know what they want. You have to tell them," and that is very true. That we have seen over and over again. You need to build something. You show your customers, and you want them love it. If you ask them, they may not be thinking that this is the problem they have. Uh, and many times the problem may be indirectly solved. Doesn't mean what you build is the core. It could be an indirect problem because your core problem would be totally different, but this other thing is helping you stay on top of other.
Right. And to the point you just mentioned, Gazanfer, regarding why people come back to the app. As you mentioned, like it might be reward, and the reward might be entertainment, right? So you gave the example of TikTok, which is basically it's an entertainment app, and like it just shows you the videos that most probably you're gonna like and watch, like the short videos. So and I think you know better than me, like I would say I would call it, the differentiation between an app and another one would be the ability of getting people to open this app again and feel that there is a need for them, whether it's an actual problem, as you said, or it's something that they will feel them like happy. And this is, a discussion, where always people come to me and say, ask, okay, you always talk about problem, and there's this famous vitamins versus painkillers. And I tell people there's nothing wrong of building vitamin products if you can manage to get people to come back again, and use them. You nailed it. And as you said, like the Steve Jobs quote again, like we need to guide the customers, like they don't know what they want. We need to guide them of what they need. So this is
Yeah, so I'll
absolutely
give
spot
you,
on.
so
Yeah,
I mean, I'll
please.
give you a couple of examples. So, like for example, if you're building a greeting card app, right? Yeah, so you can say, you can use this app to write thank you messages or birthday. So obviously, you will have a birthdays and some of those events coming, not every day, but how do you create the strategy for them? They feel like, oh, I should be thanking somebody every single day, right? So now you're like, it's not about just right, it's a greeting, but how do you make it easy for the people to uh, give compliment, for example, right? So suddenly
Right.
there were certain things that these coaches teaches us we should be doing it, making our lives better. So now suddenly it's no longer a card app. It's about making you a better human, making better connections for with your loved ones, with your friends, with your family, with your professional group, right? So you may want to come back again and again because every day certain things happen. Like, okay, get up in the morning, you want to appreciate something. So, and the same thing with the vitamins. It's not really just about knowing about vitamins. So, vitamin could be just one day, but how do you make it so that you start seeing the benefit if this is sharing with others? So, something interesting that brings you more frequently to this app. And obviously, that doesn't mean like every single app you will be needing, you need to be using every day, because obviously you for every type you, but the goal is to come back more frequently and not forgetting that app depending on the specific usage.
Right.
Like we
Yeah.
spend
So
money on Amazon all they like every other day we are coming to Amazon, right?
yeah.
So but
Yeah.
it's
I just
always
say
up.
yeah. I just say hint. I'm not sure where I saw this. They were giving the examples of how even now the developers of all these AI tools like ChatGPT and others. So they are trying to see, other than you go and query something to get some information, the way they are trying to get people hooked inside their, let's call it, the ecosystem, is how they get you involved in social interactions, like sharing the picture that you generate. I read it somewhere today, I can't remember where, but I've seen it in an article, I'm sure, earlier this morning, where they're saying like the reason why, and the time of the recording today is 17 December, but we are airing this in 2026. So the reason why Gemini, for example, Nano Banana was able to grab this, because they played on the factor that you can share the video directly, from a button, while the others, they didn't have this. You need to copy paste and all this. So this is kind of things, this is for people who are listening to us or watching us and thinking, okay, how can I make this rewarding in a sense, similar to what you mentioned, Gazanfer? So this is maybe an eye opener, I would say. Now I want to shift gear a little bit and talk again about the business. So you talk a lot about moving from 1x to 10x and having this mindset, preparing the service business for a profitable exit. Now, from your perspective, at what point should founders start thinking like acquirers, not builders anymore?
I think that should be from day one. So you should
Mm-hmm.
be thinking how because like in business we say like your strategy is the key. So if you know your path, like let's say, okay, these are my 5-year goals, 10-year goals. So this is where I want to be. Building a company with that specific goal, with that direction, definitely put you set you apart, and then also give you a faster path so your team will know what actions to take. And obviously every service business is different. You're going through the different struggles initially. Obviously once you are at that stable moment you will do it, but having those tools do help you. So when we talk about 1x to 10x, it's about automating your processes. So and that doesn't mean you just build a full custom software on day one. So what we look at it like, okay, any software that you are using, if that's available to your competitor, then there's no advantage. Yes, it's still good, but you want to build something that is unique for your business. That's your value proposition, right? So let's say you start a cleaning business or lawn mowing business, any of those. So you will have likely have obviously you start with your monday.com type of project management, your something for your people. You will have a CRM that is common in that industry and which is a good starting point. You want to do that because your competition is, you want to get up and running with all these tools. Along the way, you look at it, what are your processes happening? What are my pain points? What are the things that are taking time? So you want to look at all your manual processes, all the bottlenecks in a businesses or anything that if automated could bring more efficiency. So this, you start doing that, then gradually your things start moving faster. So maybe a lead coming in from your website to somebody making a call, giving a code, or to onboard a customer, or even getting a better communication. Uh, uh, any of those would bring some efficiency. I don't know exactly what it is because every business has its own unique DNA. So you have to look at that specific. But the goal is to build something that is unique for your business. And how you do it, you start pretty simple. You start with just one thing. It could be adding maybe a texting in your business. Like I'm just saying, like again, yes,
Mm-hmm.
for this to the tools are available. So and it may be just integrating with the existing tool. You may be using 15 different tools in your business, and like all of these tools usually have some overlap. At least there'll be one or two features overlap with each other. So you're let's say spending a lot of money on these things. Maybe starting to consult. Could be building one agent that do one thing that simplifies your processes, right? So it's you have to identify what those. So writing one agent or customizing one is not expensive, it's cheap. So you can start with one. The goal is that your team needs to be on that same, gradually build that momentum, the mindset change, because change is difficult. The moment you say, I want to build software, everybody start thinking, or we are becoming a tech company. The goal is not to become a tech company to start with. However, I've seen that again and again. Once you build these, after 2 years, the founder is saying, "Oh, now I want to run a tech company," because now they start seeing the benefit of it. The because anytime you start thinking, "Oh, I want to build this software for everybody," then you are derailing your focus. Remember, we're talking about earlier features, right? But when you're building something internally just for you are not thinking of anybody else. So you are solving
True.
one specific problem. So with that in mind, after a while, you will see, oh, now I build these 50 different agents to solve my problem, and all these are integrated. Oh, this is really becoming an asset, because now what I'm doing in an hour, my competition is doing in 10 hours. And they're not going to be able to copy your workflows. They're not going to be able to copy your processes. They may have access to the same tools that you're buying, but not what you have internally. And that's what that creates a differentiation in your business. And that differentiation means you have more efficiency in your processes, your profitability increases. That means your valuation increases. So if your business is whatever, let's say 3 times, 4 times EBITDA. This could get into 15 times, 20 times, because now your business is tech enabled. It has more efficiency, it has less errors. So the more you move towards a system power growth versus people power growth, the better your business is, the better valuation you have.
Right. And what about also, maintaining when you grow the business, keeping this culture, the mindset of like transparent communication, ownership, what you can tell, fellow founders about this also, Kazanfer, from your experience.
So are you asking from the same context on a service business, or are you asking
Yes.
from in general
In general,
the
yeah, in
ownership?
general. Yeah, in general. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, eh, transparency is the main thing that will build trust. Without that, you won't have a trust. So by default, you may go with the notion that, oh, if you're not transparent, obviously there are issues. But the bigger part, you're right, is what you're asked, like the ownership. That's the key part in getting things done. And we struggle that a lot, even in our business. It took a while, even to, like, as we're doing certain things, like sometimes you can say it's a task that is getting met. How do you convert the people from reactive to proactive mode?
Hmm.
So yes, there's a request from a client, there's a demand for internally, externally, you get things done. But you want to create a culture where people are not reactive, but they are proactive. They are looking uh, uh, ahead of time, and looking at what could be the potential problem. It's for the dev people, it's for architect, for project, for everybody. Like say for developers, as they're making those changes, we're talking about the technical debt. That's the ownership part. Oh, I got this new feature to build. Do I just build that feature and go home? Or it may take 10% more time, but now I need to refactor my existing code as well to make sure that, oh, the type, next time anybody touches, and they don't have to do that. Or am I looking at my data in the same way that, okay, I am creating this? Yeah, there was no requirement, for example, in your application to, I'm just saying as example, let's say, to track login history, for example, right? But some of those things, as your application goes live, you will need to have some kind of analytics. You need to have some kind of, like, so there are some implicit requirement. I always tell people, like, you still need to build it, right? So that's a coaching we need for our team as well. So whether it's a salespeople, marketing, developers, architects, everybody. So the ownership does make a huge difference in terms of how things are. The quality automatically increases once you have the ownership.
Right. This is very, I would call it, it's a treasure. Like I hope, a lot of people will listen to this, because I think, like, people miss these things, especially, when they are on still early on the journey, and they miss part of this. Now, as we are almost coming to the end, Gazanfer, and this is usually I ask all my guests, um, maybe final words you want to share with the audience and where they can find out more about you and, of course, about Technology Rivers.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on this podcast. So you can people can reach out my personal website, ghazenfer.com, ghazenfr.com. And then also technologyrivers.com. From both of these, you can find the link to my book, my podcast. So I have a podcast as well, Lessons
Oh,
from the Leap.
nice.
So, so where I talk with other entrepreneurs, leaders, talk about the leaps that they have taken. So, yeah. So these are the two places people can find me. And in terms of final word, I think it's the word which is moving so fast. AI is definitely making a lot of headways. I think it's faster than I ever imagined. This is an interesting time. At the same time, it's a scary time. So one of the things we took as a so as you know, like the development companies seem to be at some stage, oh, not a lot of this wide coding and all these things are coming. Would it be impacting my business? So you have an opportunity. Do you want to be um, uh, the next what do you call it? The blockbuster Babies R Us, Toys R Us, or do you want to be the next Amazon or Netflix? Um, be innovative. Like, do you want to compete or do you want to stay behind? So we decided that we will compete. We will go ahead on AI. We will make sure we are innovating. We're ahead of the game and doing leveraging AI and taking advantage of it rather than just be on the side and looking at it. Things are changing. So I think get on that bandwagon, learn AI. Otherwise, you will be crushed. Your jobs will be impacted no matter what. So it's you have a choice to make. Do I just want to be waiting for that to crush me, or and this because this is the resistance that I've seen. Like some places there's a pushback. Oh, the
Right.
AI, you're not ready for this. It has risk and all of the whatever are those. It'll be sooner. It will be implemented sooner than later. It's one of those like where companies didn't want offshore or outsource, but once just the Nasdaq and New York Stock Exchange numbers came, with all these companies doing all of this, everybody was quiet because they have to look at it what works for them. So AI is going to bring more efficiency. So and again, to me, the AI is not a replacement. It's about empowering people. So
Right.
if you look at it more positively, and this is going to empower, like if you can do 10 things that you were supposed to do anyways, because previously you were only able to achieve 3, 4 of the things based on the time you had. Now you can achieve 10. So why not be more productive?
Right. These are like pretty much words of wisdom. Thank you very much, Gazanfer, for this. Um, it was very informative for me also as well. Thank you for your time. I know how busy it can be for a founder and entrepreneur like yourself, Gazanfer. So thank you again. All the links you mentioned, people can find them in the show notes, so you don't need to go and look for them. So I'm gonna put all the links in the show notes. If you're listening on your favorite podcasting app, if you're watching on YouTube, you can find them in the description. And as usual, this is how I end my podcast episodes. So this is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed. If you did so, give me a favor, subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the loyal fans who keep coming again and again, thank you very, very much for your support, encouragement. For the past, we finished 3 years. We are in the fourth year now. 2025 was amazing from results perspective. Although, like for me, as I say always, for the past 3 years, I was always saying if I manage to help one person with this podcast, I feel I fulfilled my duty. But the numbers were fantastic last year. We were like trending in the top 200 Apple Podcast charts across multiple countries. And hopefully, we're going to continue to do that in 2026. So, thank you very much for your support. And as I say always, thank you and stay tuned for a new episode very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
hit that subscribe button, share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs, and leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.